So last night, Mars, the warrior planet, went into Scorpio, the sign of transformation, of the depths of truth, of ruthless transformation, and unmitigated energy moving. So, what does it look like when Mars, the warrior planet, is in this planet of ruthless transformation? Well, of course, it can be intense, but let's talk about how to work with that. I'm Marina Ormes here with your Astro Vibe for Thursday, October 12th. And today we continue with the moon in Virgo, asking us to review where we can improve, to look at what is not working or what could be working better, or what we need to learn or what we are learning in order to get better at who we want to be and what we are creating. And so we're winding down here toward the new moon on Saturday, the Libra solar eclipse, new moon, beginning a new moon cycle. And we're in the last days here, the last 2 days of the current moon cycle that began with the new moon in Virgo. So we're completing this Virgo energy. We're having this opportunity to sort of review and reflect on what we've learned, what we've worked on, what we're getting better at, what we're learning that's coming into our awareness that has been hidden or under the surface, or some of the old unconscious patterns we may have, and how we can shift those so that we're operating from a more functional place, a better place, right? Virgo is about improvement. And now we have this energy of Mars now in Scorpio. So late on Wednesday, just after midnight Eastern time. So it depends on your time zone when exactly Mars goes into Scorpio. But we've had Mars in Libra, right, for the last couple months. So with that Mars energy of action, of decisiveness in the sign of Libra, which is about balance, it's about seeing both sides, it's about finding common ground, it's about bringing about or restoring a sense of balance and justice. So some of that fight for justice can be there with Mars in Libra, but as Mars in also some tendency for us to compromise our own needs or enter into a state where we are trying to please others overly much, a little bit of the doormat syndrome. But now with Mars in Scorpio, we're shifting into this place where there's no holding back. So, okay, so right, we're seeing some things unfolding in the world, some terrorism, war type of things in the headlines. None of that is good. None of that is the highest expression of either the Mars energy or the Pluto energy that we've had this week, with Pluto changing directions. So what is the higher possibility of this vibration? What can we do with this energy? Well, it's the potential for transformation. So there is this opportunity to shift the ways that we have approached these conflicts, right? Problems, the things that pit people against each other. We have an opportunity here to think about them differently. And so certainly, with a situation in the Middle East, it's complex with layer upon layer of issues and situations and history and all of that. This is, just one example of how this energy is showing up that impacts the collective, right? It's impacting all of us on a global level. And so with this opportunity to think about things differently, it's a shift in approach, right? That's there as an option for us to look at, a shift in the way we approach the conflict, right? A transformation in the conflict itself, which can bring potentially a shift in consciousness, a shift in who we're being, like as we as individuals and in the collective, evolve, stepping into more of what we can be and less of what we have been, because it's just the way we've always done things, right? Our old patterns that help us survive, stepping into more of these evolved ways of being that represent our potential and how we can truly thrive or step into a longer term, more functional, more sustainable way of being. So that's happening certainly in the collective and how it's showing up in the news headlines. It's also showing up in our own personal lives in terms of where we need to be courageous, right? Being a warrior is not just about hurting people, it's about finding our courage to stand up for ourselves, to stand up for what's true and right. And with the Libra eclipse on Saturday, we also have an invitation to think differently about justice and the role that justice has in how we evolve, right? Who we can be going forward. So that's again showing up in the collective and in the news headlines, as well as in our own personal lives. So where do you need to find the courage to transform, the courage to be you in a more holistic, empowered, authentic way, right? Yesterday, we were talking about how to stop the inner critic in its tracks. If you missed that video for Wednesday, October 10th, I gave you some exact techniques to use to shift that inner critic if it shows up for you. How to shift it if you're comparing yourself to someone else, or don't feel good enough, or feel like you haven't gotten or achieved something by now that you should have achieved by now. It's just a way to stop that critic in its tracks. And what we're doing as we shift that way of thinking and old patterns that we have is that we are finding the courage to be more of who we are, right? Not who we think we should be or wanting to be more like someone else, but being more of ourselves. And what does that look like? And how can we step into that? Because that is what courage really is. And as we transform that scorpionic transformational energy, we have that invitation to become, right? To do things in a way that is more whole, more healthy, more in alignment with the outcomes we want to create. So there's some discomfort as we let go of old patterns, old ways of being, because it's there for a reason. We rely on those old unconscious patterns to be help us function in the day-to-day world. But when we let go of those old patterns and step into new possibilities, step into what we are becoming, how we can show up in our vulnerability, in our truth, in our willingness to say, hey, maybe the way that I did this in the past wasn't the best I can be, right? Maybe there's something I am learning and growing and improving upon in terms of who I'm being and how I'm showing up for you, my people that I love, my friends, my family, my community, and myself. How are you showing up for yourself? And how is that courage to transform allowing you to recognize, hey, there are ways of being or things that I might have wanted to blame on the outer world or other people in my life that actually, hey, maybe some of that was coming from me, maybe my own choices, my own beliefs, my own patterns and ways of being were contributing to some of the things I experience and the ways that I experience those that feel frustrating. So as we find the courage to transform, we find the courage to step into more authentic ways of being, and the world becomes a better place because we are making better choices for ourselves within that world. So that is true for yourself personally, for your own life. It is also true in terms of what the world needs and how the world needs us to show up with courage, to be vulnerable, to transform. And if you think of the Middle East, it's such a incredible example of that. It's like we have to let go of some of the bitterness of the past, right? To be willing to see ways forward, to, maybe it's not going to be the way that we were attached to. Maybe it's not going to be what we think it should be, but what does that look like to create something that actually could be functional and sustainable and give us some of the outcomes we want, even while we are letting go of some of the attachments we thought we had to have, that really, to be honest and truthful with ourselves, like those attachments in many ways are what hold us back from transforming. So just something to reflect on in your own life. What are you attached to in terms of outcomes or the way you think things should be? That if you can let go of those specific attachments, maybe you can be more open to creating things in a way that actually can fulfill a lot of the things you want and open the door to more happiness and freedom and all the good things that life has to offer. All right, lots to think about. Thank you so much for being here. Mars is going to be in Scorpio for a few weeks, a couple months, and so we've got some time as we work through this courage, finding this courage. Don't have to do it all in one day. That's the beautiful thing about the planets. And of course, as Pluto continues moving forward, we are unfolding in terms of how we have to really rethink and restructure our ways of approaching reality. So check out my video from last Sunday. And also that was Sunday, excuse me, October 8th, and also Tuesday, October 10th, for more information, because Tuesday was the day Pluto stationed direct. So more in that video about that Plutonian energy and what it brings in terms of the collective and transformation. So lots of ways we are shifting and changing this month. I also had a video earlier this month on changes in October, so check that out. That was released on October 1st. If you've missed any of these videos, you may want to go back and catch up on it, because we are in a shifty, changey, transformy time, and hopefully you are allowing that process to happen rather than resisting it, because resistance is futile when it comes to Pluto and Scorpio. All right. Thank you so much. I'm Marina Ormes. You can learn more about me at astrologyheals.com and learn how to work with me, and many more of my offerings available at astrologyheals.com. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and thank you. I will see you next time. Bye for now.